table is talking to you. Watchtower, haven't a clue. JW's falling like flies, waking up from the years of the lies. The round table is talking to you, clearing the way so you can leap too. You're watching The Round Table, where we discuss the Watchtower, the Jehovah's Witnesses, and how they're falling apart around the world. Stick around for some truths. Enjoy the reality, only at The Round Table.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Once again, I am back with Mr. Jimmy and Mr. Jimmy and Mr. Jason.
Same thing.
For a round table. Not quite enough hair over there for it to be Jason's.
Nah.
All right. But today is a special episode because, as you know, I'm sure by now, that the Child Victims Act was passed in New York on August 14th.
My birthday.
And, well, it wasn't passed on August 14th, but it went into effect on August 14th. Yeah, your birthday, so that's quite a birthday present.
It's a sign.
Yeah. And we wanted to talk about, now that a little bit of time has passed, some of the numbers that are coming up and some of the reasons for what happened. It's resulted in a whole slew of lawsuits. So we're going to talk about that, not just against Watchtower, but against a lot of other institutions. But of course, we're going to focus on the ramifications for Watchtower. So before we talk about some of the details, let's run through a few bullet points of what the Child Victims Act is all about. And this is from the New York government's website. This is what they said. The Act provides that the statute of limitations for criminal prosecution of a sexual offense committed against a child shall not begin to run until the child turns 23 years of age. So that's good because that gives them a much longer time. Because what kid is going to report and try to take, some kind of legal action or whatever? So they wait till they're an adult. Second, it provides that a civil action for conduct constituting a sexual offense against a child shall be brought before the child turns 55 years of age. That gives that child, that person, once they're an adult, 32 years to file. And I saw a Psychology Today article that said it can take decades before somebody feels confident and secure enough to take that kind of action.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that was a problem with a lot of the laws, is that their statute of limitations is really short. You might have 10 years and that's it. But most victims aren't in a state where they could get before a court and talk about it 10 years later.
Yes.
And the clock would start from the day it happened, not from when they're already an adult. So it really made it difficult for the victims. So this is a huge step forward for them.
I mean, a lot of them need that time to process.
They do.
So, I feel like this is fair to them.
Yeah. I mean, think about how long it takes people who are just EXJW to get over that, even if they weren't physically or sexually abused. And now take that and translate it onto something as traumatic as being a kid that was sexually abused by someone you thought you could trust. And just imagine that I hear from people all the time, 20 years later, still have problems from leaving the org.
Well, I think it's even worse than that because, you factor that in with, leaving it in Jehovah's hands and having the feeling that you are somehow condemned for, exposing an offense like this. I mean, that makes it even more complicated.
Yeah, definitely. It really does. And we've got some notes on that we'll talk about in a little bit. And next it says it revives previously barred actions related to sexual abuse of children. Now, I couldn't find exactly what that means. So apparently it's a broader brush now. There are things that can be considered child abuse that weren't before, but I don't know what that involves. Grants civil trial preference to such actions, which means that most of these people probably aren't going to be criminally charged, but civilly charged, and they can be sued for monetary damages, but probably not going to see a lot of people go to jail, which is a little disappointing when it comes to the governing body and their actions. But hey, at least they can sue. That's a big step, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Eliminates the notice of claim requirements for such actions when the action is brought against a municipality, the state, or a school district. Well, that doesn't apply. It just means that you don't have to have certain requirements to make that claim against the city. So that's not important for us. and requires judicial training related to child abuse and the establishment of rules relating to civil actions brought for sexual offenses committed against children. Well, that's great that some judicial training has to be involved because they need to understand what they're dealing with. The problem is, as well-meaning as a judge might be, or as the people involved might be, if they're not qualified to deal with it, they don't really understand the ramifications and how difficult it can be for the kids and just all of the above.
Right.
So it's good that they require all these things. But the best part, well, a great part of this new act is what's called a window of justice. So that from August 14th, which was a couple weeks ago, through July of 2020, even if they were previously barred due to the statute of limitations, you can bring a case against either the abuser or the institution that covered up or allowed or in some other malicious way did not protect the child involved. So they have a full year, and they don't have to have the case finished by then. It just has to be filed. So that is wonderful. How far-reaching is this new law going to be? Well, I saw some numbers. First, the law firm Whites and Luxembourg said that it has 1,200 clients across the state that are expected to file. Now, again, I could not find, and they don't break it down, how many of those are against Watchtower. I don't know. But I also know that according to an article on democracynow.org, that as of August 21st, there have been more than 500 lawsuits. And I know from Zalkin, and we'll get into Erwin Zalkin and his law firm and what he's doing, that at least three of those, are against Watchtower. Yeah. And all three cite the governing body as defendants, which is new and awesome.
Yes.
All right. And Jimmy, Kimberly posted a website that people could go to if they have a claim. What is that?
Yeah, it's Jehovah's Witness Sex Abuse Lawyers.com, and it's found on Watching Watchtower, our Facebook group. But to repeat for emphasis, Jehovah's Witness Sex Abuse Lawyers.com.
Yeah. And I'll show that on the screen while we're talking, and I'll put a link to it in the video description. So if you have a claim, please talk to them. And here's where it gets really interesting and terrible for Watchtower, but good for those of us who want to see Watchtower brought to justice. For most institutions, only citizens of the state of New York can file because it's a New York law. But Watchtower is headquartered in New York, which means that anyone from any state in the United States can name Watchtower as a defendant. And that's just beautiful. Now, there was an article on JWSurvey.org that Mark O'Donnell wrote. He has a couple of articles that, and I'm going to link to everything that we cite in the video description. So this is going to be in there too, where he says, while Jehovah's Witnesses publicly claim to abide by and follow mandatory reporting statutes, they deliberately obstruct justice by claiming that clergy penitent privilege applies to nearly every allegation of abuse reported. The distortion or corruption of clergy privilege has effectively become a JW corporate policy directed at self-preservation rather than child preservation. Such procedures hinder trained law enforcement experts from addressing these crimes. The Child Victims Act permits victims of abuse to hold accountable the institutions which intensified their injuries through negligence and malice. So what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I'm glad that this is all coming to light, because the more they try, lately the more they try to protect their image, the more it's just backfiring. This is great, because this is one thing that I always hated about the organization, even from things as simple as to not even being able to have beards because it affects the image, and we wouldn't want to offend others. Well, yeah.
It's very
child sex abuse offends others.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, and for so many years, the Watchtower organization has railed against the Catholics and their problem with this issue. And they always try to present themselves as being better than them. And they would use that. They would use that in their teachings. They would use that out in field service. And so they would demonize the Catholic Church for the exact
I remember that.
same thing that they're doing.
Late 90s.
And the thing is there's so many folks that are in the organization that are still super uber JWs that they just want to put their head in the sand. But having all this information come out like this, they're not going to be able to.
This is going to shock some people.
Well, they shouldn't be able to.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to shock some people into having to wake up. They're not going to have any choice. They're going to have to be like, what the hell is all this I keep hearing? And they're going to do research and they're going to wake up. And this is interesting that this is coming out because when I first started studying with the witnesses, I started studying in the late 90s. And that was around the time that all the Catholic stuff was going on. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, man, I'm so glad to be part of an organization.
Right. And see,
man,
I
I'm
know
so
we
glad
all-
we're not involved in
We
this
all
shit.
thought that. We all thought that.
Yeah, and see, and for the folks that have just recently come out of the organization,
At least the Catholics admitted they're wrong.
Yeah, that's true. They
Yeah, they did.
apologized.
Apologize.
Yeah.
you know,
Waiting on you, governing body.
Yeah, they're still accountable and they're getting their asses sued off
Yeah,
too, but
they
at
are.
least they apologized.
I was just thinking, while
Who's thinking it,
while
man?
we were in, we were thinking that this organization had God's Holy Spirit, and nothing like this could happen in the organization.
Yep.
We all thought that.
Yeah, we did.
And then to wake up and then realize all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes, you're like, damn, governing body.
Yeah.
just
damn.
If we ever make a T-shirt for this channel,
Yes, that's it.
going to be
Damn.
it. Damn, governing
The Ace
body.
has coined that. his words.
All right, now why is Watchtower accountable? Let's walk through how Watchtower handles child sexual abuse allegations. When an allegation is made of child sexual abuse, the elders are instructed by Watchtower in the Shepherd the Flock of God book, in the elders' handbook, in their rule book, not to contact the authorities immediately. No, they're supposed to call Watchtower's legal department in Paterson, New York. And when that call is made, and this was something I didn't think about until Mark pointed it out in his article, when the call is made, the details of the allegation are put into that database we've all heard about
Right.
by nobody knows, some anonymous unknown person. So first of all, this information is passing through the ears and hands of somebody. You don't know what they're doing with that.
That's right.
You don't know where that information is going other than in the database. You don't know. So that's a huge problem.
A very huge problem.
Yeah, and the Atlantic is who broke that story about the database. And according to that article, a former elder in 2002 said that the number of entries in the database was 23,720. Now, Watchtower denies that. They say it's not nearly that many. So they have admitted that they have a database. But, given their track record of honesty,
Yeah, right.
we believe you, Watchtower.
Remember that number? That number's from 2002.
2002.
We're at 17 years into that.
How many is it now? How long have they been keeping it? From my understanding, the blue envelopes thing, that started what, in the 90s?
Yeah.
Late 90s?
I'm not sure.
So, if it was 23,720 in 02,
And I
is
say
it
something.
twice that now? Because it's been twice as long?
Wow.
We don't know.
There's something I do want to add to this too. You would think if you're newly waking up or still an indoctrinated witness, the interesting thing about this is that you would absolutely think that it is persecution from Satan's world, if they didn't admit it. But if you go back and do the research for everyone watching, this is something that the governing body now admits is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, just thinking about that
And
while
see,
you were reading
they
it.
can't use this incident.
Yeah.
They can't use this as persecution.
Yeah.
Because in their minds, when the Great Tribulation is supposed to start, Jehovah's Witnesses are going to get attacked after all the other religions fall. We know that,
Right.
okay? But this thing
They're supposed
focuses...
to be blameless.
Yeah, this focuses on the Catholic Church.
Yep.
It focuses on the Boy Scouts of America. Even seats of government.
That's
Yep.
a good point. Yeah, this isn't
you're right.
just about Watchtower.
Yeah, it's not
Right.
just about Watchtower.
That's a very good point.
was it
So
you
if
said?
Babylon the Great is falling and Watchtower goes down with them,
Interesting.
what does that mean? That's a great point. I had
Well, I
not
think it's
thought
interesting what you said. I think you said it actually. You said prosecution is not persecution.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
about that. Right. Exactly. Prosecution. Repeat after me. Prosecution is not persecution. So just because you're getting in trouble with the law because you broke it doesn't mean Satan is after you. It means you did something wrong, or it usually means that. All right, now here's again where Watchtower goes off track because they claim clergy penitent privilege, but 45 states of the United States, according to childwelfare.gov, have laws that require clergy to report child abuse to the authorities. Watchtower does not do that because they claim clergy penitent privilege. But here's the problem with that. Clergy penitent privilege is supposed to be, and I don't agree with that either. I don't care.
No,
you should not ever be able to keep child abuse privileged, ever.
Yeah.
But there's an exception for clergy members. If someone comes into confession and confesses a sin to them, but only to the one priest, the priest is bound. It was created for the Catholic Church. The priest is bound not to ever reveal anything under confession. And because the Catholic Church had a very heavy influence on the law, that exception was
I wonder
made.
how much damage has been done because
Oh,
of that.
there's no telling.
Jeez.
Lawyers,
Good God.
doctors, nurses, teachers, there is no privilege. If they hear about it, they got to bring it
They're
to the
literally above the law.
Literally.
If you think about it.
Yes.
Literally.
Yeah. Well, that's because of religion's influence on the law. But see,
Unfortunately.
even under that, though,
That's a whole
Watchtower
other
doesn't
subject.
qualify. Because Watchtower, first of all, there's usually 3 elders in the room. At least 2. Because there have to be 2, because there's got to be a second witness. You know, they're bullshit about that. There's got to be a
But
second
you
witness.
can't have witnesses,
Yeah, you
but
can't
they
have
can.
They can, yeah. So there's got to be 2 in the room. So first of all, we're not dealing with one priest here.
Yep.
There's 2. But then, even if they could get away with that, they don't keep it under wraps. They immediately call the branch. Talk to someone who may or may not be an elder at Patterson. We don't know. Who knows who that gets spread to? It gets put in a database. This is not privileged. As
And then
soon
who's
as it
viewing
leaves
the
room.
database?
Right.
Who looks at this
Who's
information?
got access?
Yeah, who's
Yeah.
looking at this information after that unknown person puts it in the system?
At the
We don't
very
know.
least, there is absolutely no transparency as to what is going on with your personal information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The minute it leaves the room, it is no longer privileged. And it goes all over Watchtower headquarters
Yep.
as soon as they call the branch. So far, they have yet to win a case with that claim, which is why Watchtower tried to go to the Supreme Court. And I'm not sure if that's been completely shot down yet, but I saw the rebuttal to it. They try to go to the Supreme Court and say, but our religion's different, and we have a First Amendment right to have a group of elders and all this stuff. But it's so not going to fly, because you can't prove that everyone who's getting this information are only clergy. And by the way, Watchtower always told us that elders weren't clergy.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And
They
in
did.
Montana, they
did.
claimed they weren't clergy at first and were losing. So they turned around and said, no, we are
We are."
clergy. And then they lost anyway.
I mean, that's true, though. Growing up, we've always heard that. It's like, oh, are we a clergy class? Answer,
Yep.
no.
No,
we're not. Jehovah's
no.
Witnesses have no clergy class.
Not us.
So what
you
is
know.
it?
Yeah. So that's why they're liable. That's why Zalkin says they're liable. That's what all the information I'm seeing says. Watchtower's liable because the way they handle the allegations breaks the law. And it's malicious and does not protect the child, but rather protects the abuser. That's the claim that's being brought against them in these lawsuits.
And even if
it's
it was
won.
legal, it's still just wrong all
It
the way
is.
around.
It
Still
is
just,
wrong.
it's not right.
It is wrong. Now, isn't it the parents' responsibility for all you Watchtower apologists that I know are thinking, well, the parents should call the authorities? First of all, I totally agree with you. The parents absolutely should call as soon as they hear about this from their
Yep.
child. But there's 2 problems. One, what if the parent is the abuser? Okay, so that's problem number 1. They're not going to call the cops on themselves.
No.
2, so if the child goes to the elders because they trust the elders because they're in that position of responsibility, right? They're going to bring the parents in, but what if the parent's the abuser? So that's a fail. 2,
Leave it in Jehovah's hands.
if you are a shepherd to protect the flock of God in your congregation, are you really going to trust the parents to call and leave it in their hands when the whole congregation's children are at risk and the entire local community because there's an abuser roaming the streets.
Yep.
So that's a second fail. Third fail is that you expect the parents to call, but what does well, actually they say you're free to call. They do not encourage you to call, which is also...
Yeah.
We'll allow you to call.
But what does Watchtower teach? Are you supposed to take a brother to court?
No.
No, there's a scripture they pull.
Hands.
Yeah, and what else are you not supposed to bring?
Reproach upon the organization. Reproach on Jehovah's name.
So you've got parents, maybe they've been Jehovah's Witnesses for decades, constantly reminded you don't bring reproach on Jehovah's name, and you don't bring your brother to court.
So they don't say anything.
So a lot of them don't.
It's a culture of corruption.
It's a cult. That's
a culture.
Well said. A culture of corruption. And that's why they're accountable. Now we get to our favorite attorney rock star, Erwin Zalkin, who he's got 3 lawsuits he's already filed, 2 in New York and 1 in California.
Mm-hmm.
And there were press conferences for both of those. And I'll put the links to where you can read about that in the video description. I didn't realize.
This guy's a hero, man.
Oh, he's awesome.
He is really good. He knows the organization. He knows
Hope you're
the ins
watching.
and outs.
He's been deep in this for 10 years.
Yeah.
I had no idea how much he's done until I read this article on pathos.com. In the past decade, Zalkin represented 24 former or current witnesses plus about 10 more that settled out of court. That's a quote from the article. So we're talking at least 34 or so people that he's taken to task, Watchtower to task for. So he knows, like Jimmy said, how this organization works. And that's why he's finally ready, and he's the first person to actually name the governing body as defendants in all 3 of these suits.
Also, too, John, Zalkin was interviewed on the John Cedars channel not too long ago as well.
That's right.
And this was what he said. This is what he's quoted as saying. They are now going to be named defendants in a lawsuit. They are headquartered in the state of New York. They direct all of the activities of the Jehovah's Witness organization from the state of New York. They are very hands-on. The governing body is very hands-on in making policy and practice for the organization in issuing directives to elders, including directives related to their sexual abuse policy.
Yep, that's right. And now what gets really interesting about that...
So good luck on pleading ignorance.
Yeah, there's a complaint, and the 2 complaints that were filed in New York, they call them complaints, but the lawsuits. Diasis, do you want to read that? Because there's a lot of meaty stuff in there on that next page. Where Zalkin, this is in the suit that was filed.
All right. You want me to start at his quote?
Yeah, just read the quote there.
It says, notwithstanding the reports received in response to the March 1997 and July 1998 letters, which continue to be sent to this day, defendants, Watchtower, and governing body left intact a long-standing Jehovah's Witness policy dating to a July 1989 policy letter that required elders to frustrate law enforcement efforts to investigate child molestation and to contact defendant Watchtower's legal department about child abuse allegations instead of cooperating with law enforcement or reporting child molestation allegations to the police. Similarly, victims were still to be discouraged from seeking any form of therapy where Jehovah's Witness molestations may be disclosed to non-members. Despite being staffed with ministers, Defendant Watchtower's service department has never made a mandated child abuse report to law enforcement. I'm sorry, that's
Wow.
That's just disgusting.
Yeah, he just breaks it down.
Wow.
You hear the pause? It leaves you speechless.
Yeah.
Wow.
When you really read, this is what they're doing while claiming to be God's clean, pure organization. This is what they're doing.
Still want to be a part of this?
You know, and I have to say, I got to give Zalkin snaps for this, because I've heard people, oh, Zalkin, he's just out for money, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that dude is a rock star. He could be engaging in all kinds of lawsuits that are easier and make him a lot more money than what he's doing for former Jehovah's Witnesses that were abused.
And if you're watching this, we want to congratulate you for your work. You're awesome.
You are the man.
Thank you.
We are
Thank you.
very grateful.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Very grateful for everything you've done, Mr. Zalkin. No question. All right, now in 2014, he filed this 2014, Zalkin files a motion to compel the deposition of the longest standing member of the governing body, Mr. Garrett Loesch.
Good old Loesch.
Loesch weaseled out of it. He used law firms outside of Watchtower to quash the motion, and those attorneys compared Loesch to the Dalai Lama, saying that he was only responsible for the spiritual well-being of the witnesses and not policy. Now, when I read that, first of all, I knew he had weaseled out of it, but I didn't know the thing about the Dalai Lama.
I didn't either.
I didn't either, but and I was watching John Cedar's channel, and I think he had, and don't quote me on this, but I think he was showing a written statement or talking about a written statement from Garrett Loesch where he was like, "Oh, I don't answer to Watchtower."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, and I would love to just be an active witness and see a couple of witnesses or me say something like that to the elders.
Yeah.
They would roll our ass in the elders' room so quickly.
Yes, they would. You would get disfellowship like
But
that.
Loesch can say it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And you know what's hilarious to me about that? Watchtower calls the Dalai Lama a false religious teacher, and then uses their attorney to compare Loesch to the Dalai Lama.
More double standards.
Freudian slip.
Good God, the double standards.
And now, and I was thinking about that this morning. I'm like, wait a minute.
Jesus.
Loesch said
So take
that
the
he
wheel.
doesn't write policy, that the governing body doesn't write this policy. But Watchtower has always claimed that all of their policies are based on the Bible.
Yes.
And
What the hell is he doing?
if the governing body is supposed to be the faithful and discreet slave, but they're not the one using the Bible to create the policies that govern Jehovah's Witnesses, who's really the faithful and discreet slave? I mean,
Not
really,
them.
it's not them,
Nope.
because they're not writing the policies, even though the policies are
Couldn't
supposed
be
to
just a
Bible
parable
based.
in Matthew 24, could it?
Yeah, maybe the legal department's writing. Maybe they're the faithful slave now. Yeah. Oh, it's so messed up.
God.
All right. So that's what's going on. 1,200 at least clients for one law firm alone are going to be suing before that year is over. 500 have already been filed. 3 of them from Zalkin, 2 in New York, 1 in California.
And as
By
time,
Watchtower.
And as time
Yeah,
goes
against
on,
Watchtower, yeah.
as time goes on, and people find that they're receiving more support for what they've dealt with in the past, there's going to be more people that come forward. They're
Yeah.
going to feel strong
I really
enough.
hope this thing gains momentum.
So,
honestly.
what we want to do is we want to be able to encourage those. We want to show them support, show them that they're not a weirdo or anything like that. That, hey, you know what? If you actually call up and you talk to an attorney, we're going to be there behind you. We're going to support
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I want to.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking too, and for the active witnesses or the ones who are still in or questioning, you are not rebelling against Jehovah. If you are calling out this kind of corruption and trying to seek compensation, do not feel bad. Watchtower is just as quick to defend this as you would be to report on this. And there is nothing wrong with that. So don't go to bed at night feeling like, you know, you have lost Jehovah's favor, that you were condemned by Jehovah. He would not frown on you for exposing something like this.
Watchtower is not God.
No.
They are not God. They
No, they're
equate
not.
themselves with God, with Jehovah in all their
Which is
literature and
blasphemy.
stuff. When you leave Watchtower, you're not leaving Jehovah. If you still believe, if you're still a believer, which is perfectly cool, and I'm perfectly
Good point.
fine with people. I know a lot of people who go EXJW become atheists. I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not. I don't identify as a Christian anymore, though I have mad respect for the Gospels. But Watchtower's not God.
No.
That's right.
So you can
No.
speak out against Watchtower. In fact, that's what the prophets did, right? They spoke out against Israel when Israel was behaving badly.
Yes, they did.
And that was part of, in the Bible, that was part of Jehovah's way of calling them to task.
Jesus condemned
So-
the Pharisees.
Exactly. So if Watchtower is doing something wrong, it's not wrong for you to call them out on it and have them be brought to justice. If you believe that it's God's organization, you may be the person God's using
keep it clean.
to set them on a better course. You don't know that you're not.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So
That's a good point.
don't be afraid. Shoot, who knows? You may have God's Spirit. Do it.
You might.
You don't know. Hiding it will not fix it. That's all I know.
Yeah.
They can claim God's Spirit. Why can't you?
Why can't you? That's the fact. They've admitted they're neither inspired nor infallible.
Yeah.
It was
Right.
February 2017.
February 2017. Yeah.
So there.
And that was the truth.
February
They're not.
2017 study edition.
Governing body said we are neither inspired nor infallible. Well, you're not inspired or infallible either. If they say they have God's Spirit, why can't you? Call them out on it. Make them answer for it. If it's going to get fixed, that's the only way to do it.
That's right.
All right, so what does this mean? This is the final segment. No, this one's not going to be 3.5 hours.
Oh, man.
I do have another recording we can do though. There's 57
I got some
minutes
food. I
of
was going
Not
to get some
today.
snacks. I mean, come on, man. Damn.
Well, the next 3.5 hour one will be when we go over Jimmy's last recording. But what does this mean for Watchtower? First of all, Watchtower's already hurting financially. They're selling off Kingdom Halls like hotcakes, and thank you,
Yep.
Kim and Mikey.
Yes.
Big shout out to them because
You
one
guys
of
are
their
awesome.
viewers.
Come to a pasta stop.
Yeah, please. We'd love to see it at Pasta Stop. But one of their viewers sent them a screenshot, and you can look this up. It's still on it as of this morning on JW Broadcasting. The 2018 Coordinators Committee Report video. Not the kind of thing most people will watch because it sounds damn boring. But somebody watched it, and they're showing off some new software they created for handling their
They need
property
to get paid for
acquisition and sales. But the dummies zoom in on a computer screen that shows all the pie charts and statistics of the Kingdom Halls they've sold and what's up for sale and all the country breakdowns and everything. Now go watch Kim and Mikey's video. I'll put it in the video description.
Because
It's
they're
only like-
totally not a corporation.
yeah, they're totally not. It's only
Religion.
it's only about 20 minutes long, so it's not a long watch when they talk about it. And Kim really breaks down the numbers very well. But here, I'll just give you a few. 2017, they sold 606 Kingdom Halls. 2018, they sold 867, and as of the time that video was created in 2019, they had sold 45. But there's no
Wow.
timestamp on the video, so I don't know when it was made.
And again, even that right there. Jehovah's not blessing this work.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
because
not-
for
they're
how
speaking
many
themselves.
years? How many years? Oh well, we've got this many Kingdom Halls
Yeah.
we're building, and we're doing these many
We're
Kingdom
getting
Halls.
5,000 members
We're
a minute.
growing.
The small one
No.
has become a mighty nation. I used to hear that all the
Yes.
time growing up. And now they're shrinking. So
Now the
that's-
mighty nation is getting sued
Yeah.
for child sex abuse.
Yeah. That's 1,518 Kingdom Halls that have been sold up to whenever this video was made. If the average selling price was $250,000 US, which I know it's a lot higher than
Yeah,
that because this
right.
is commercial real estate,
Right.
but let's just say that means these halls have netted $400 million
Plus.
plus. So maybe $500 million, maybe twice that much. Because again, I've seen some halls for sale for like $1.5 million.
Yeah.
Because it's commercial and they're in important neighborhoods
yeah.
and areas. So they're
Prime
expensive.
real estate, as they
Prime
call
real
it.
estate, yeah. So you take those numbers into account. They wouldn't be selling all that stuff if they didn't need cash.
Right.
They wouldn't, because it goes against everything they've always said.
Mm-hmm.
But the clip shows that there are currently 4,308 Watchtower properties for sale. Now, some of that also
Wow.
includes land. It's not all Kingdom Halls. And they also have like assembly halls and things like that. So we were talking about an enormous mountain of cash if they sell all these things, all right?
You know, when I was reading these notes and I saw that in there, I was like, Are we talking about a business?
You're right, yeah.
Are we talking about a business or an
like, wait a minute, so what
organization backed
Watchtower?
by God's Holy Spirit? I mean, that's just unbelievable. 4,308 Watchtower properties for sale.
I get flack from people in the comments fairly regularly when I call Watchtower a publishing company, because like no, it's a real estate company. It's not a publishing company.
We're sorry for calling it a publishing company.
You know what?
It's a real estate company.
Hold on. I bet you they have more properties for sale than damn Donald Trump.
Probably so. So that's true. I mean, they're very much Trump-like now. They own properties. That's what they do, and they're selling them off to bank the cash.
And the rank and file do not know this stuff.
No.
I don't know anything
They
about this.
do not know this stuff. That's why their heads are buried in the sand.
Like, what are you talking about? We just
what?
built 10,000 Kingdom Halls.
Yeah. And as far as the whole money thing, 400 million plus, but they're still, in addition, fleecing the rank and file with wanting donations. Every time you hear about it.
Oh, dude.
Well, what's their net worth? 2.2 billion?
That's how much they sold over the last 10 years, just from the New York properties.
Yeah.
So they got money.
And how many rank and file are just struggling to make ends meet?
To pioneer
and the
for their
freaking governing
asses.
body has got all this damn... Don't even get me
I
started.
know. Wait, you want to get mad? Let me tell you something.
Don't
that's
even
gonna
get me
you mad.
started.
I was on Discord the other night, and I won't say the name of who told me this because I'm not sure if he wants his name public. But there's a guy on Discord. He's there all the time, and I trust what he says. The hall he used to go to, they bought land to build a new Kingdom Hall, right? Mm-hmm. But Watchtower, of course, all that stuff gets deeded over to Watchtower. Watchtower sold the land. Now, this is what makes it sad. Someone had cashed in his wife's life insurance policy. She had died. $90,000. Contributed it to buy the land so they can build a Kingdom Hall. Watchtower sold the land and kept the cash.
Jesus.
That's who we're dealing with.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
Wow.
No, they didn't give him his 90 grand back that he had donated for the specific purpose of building a Kingdom Hall. They took the money and ran.
And you know what? And that's not the only case of that happening.
No,
I'm sure.
I've heard similar stories.
I have too.
Yeah. Now again, I can't prove that.
right.
I can't prove this happened. I don't have any documentation or anything.
But if it is
so
true.
I'm sure all the apologists will say it's just an apostate lie and half truth. But I trust this
Hey,
guy.
at
He's
least
a good
we're
guy.
admitting that we cannot verify.
Yeah.
We are being honest.
Yeah.
But we have
That-
heard similar stories.
And that kind of behavior wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah,
Based
no.
on all this other
No.
stuff. Hey, if you'll protect pedophiles, what will you not do?
Oh, jeez.
You know?
Sounds
All right.
like, yeah.
So they've got this major cash issue, and they're selling all this stuff off to raise money, and they're being hit with lawsuits all over the world. There's a class action in Canada, 66 million, I think it is.
66, yeah.
They lost the 35 million in Montana, though they're appealing that. And Zalkin has won all these cases, 34. 24 in court and 10
Out of court.
Out of court were settled. So they're losing a lot of money from these cases.
Definitely something to think about.
Yeah. And I want to read a couple of tweets that I looked up because JT and Lady C from EXJW Critical Thinker, love
Hell yeah.
them.
Yes.
Big shout out to them. Well, they posted a tweet on the 23rd of August, just a couple days ago. And this is what they said. Soon the Watchtower Society will scale its activities, fire all circuit overseers, leaving elders to press the play button on the video so Jehovah's Witnesses can receive looping messages from Bethel in the style of 1984, end of the world coming soon. XJW, and pass the plate.
Wow.
And here's the thing. JT and Lady C are so, especially JT, because Lady C, she's awesome. She's, but JT is so even.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Even. And for him to post something like that, regardless if it was him or Lady C, whoever posted, for them to post something like that, that shows the kind of rage that is rising against Watchtower over their behavior. You know? And then Kevin McFree, he actually said this last year, from Dubtown, also amazing.
Love
God,
Dubtown.
is that who it is?
I love
Yeah.
Dubtown.
Holy shit.
Love
Dubtown is awesome.
Yes.
He actually tweeted this last year, and I hadn't thought about it. He said, I've often wondered if they went almost bankrupt in the crash of 2008. Feels like all cutbacks began shortly after that, with
Wow.
magazine reductions. Then the master plan was created, and then plans for moving out of New York. Why the sudden need to liquidate?
Wow.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, add to that all these child sex abuse cases. I hadn't thought. Thank you, Kevin. I hadn't thought about
Yes.
that.
That is a damn good
Because then they
observation.
started cutting back on how many watchtowers.
Yeah,
they
that
had.
all happened. Why? Because their investment portfolio, like everybody else's,
Magazines got smaller
tanked.
and less frequent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you notice,
Damn it.
someone mentioned the other day, they haven't released a book. They used to release a book, at least one book
At
every
least
year
one,
at the
yeah,
conventions.
every year.
And they're not doing that anymore.
Because they're putting it all on
I guess
JWORG.
Yeah.
They probably get tired of
But you would think
having
they
to
would be
retire them
like-
after
yeah.
a year anyway.
I'm telling you what.
Yes, it's probably,
So-
it's probably a good thing they haven't come out with a book.
So when you think about it, you put all those pieces
Goobers.
together. But again, I do not have Watchtower's books. They are not transparent at all.
No.
So we can't know for sure what's going on in the walls or in the banks or that they
Something's
deal with.
going
We
on.
don't know. But it looks really, really bad. And the child sex abuse cases, if everyone starts filing from all
Yes.
over the country now that New York has passed this law, I want to say it was JT said this could bankrupt Watchtower, but don't quote me on that because I'm not sure it was
I think it
him.
might have been Mikey.
Was it Mikey?
It might, because I watched the video that he did, and they were talking about not only are they facing these charges with this child sex abuse stuff, but it could be a possibility that they could be involved in racketeering.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what
and again, we don't know.
Yeah, we
But
don't
what
know.
we do know is
Wouldn't
they're
surprise
getting
me.
sued all over
Yes.
Yeah.
the place, and they're losing all over the place. They're settling in a lot of these cases, so they're really out a lot of cash. And then all the Kingdom Hall sales and the 2008 thing I hadn't even thought about that Kevin
I didn't
posted.
think about that either.
It is
Yeah.
very evident that they do not have Jehovah's favor.
Yeah. Yeah. And what do you like to quote all the time from Russell? That if they ever have to...
Yeah, Russell had said in the early years
Yes.
of the Watchtower
Thank you.
magazine that if they ever got to a point where they had to start asking for money, then they realized they didn't have God's spirit and they should shut the doors.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Watchtower,
We're here.
might want to think about shutting them doors.
Let was on JW Broadcasting in 2015 begging for money. I've seen it many times because it's in a few of my videos.
I mean, you go on JW.org and you start begging for money. Then you tell the little kids of the congregation to make a little piggy bank to put in their house
Donate.
and donate and put little pictures of Caleb and Sophie and make
Yeah.
it nice and pretty and
Yeah.
whatever. And then you got
ice cream money.
the ice cream
Asking
money.
for their ice cream
Then
money.
you got the new thing that came out a couple of weeks ago, where there was a letter read to all the congregations about an average of
Right.
$14
That's right.
a publisher. You know, they weren't making it mandatory.
Absolutely disgusting.
But
Yeah.
to help renovate Patterson,
Yeah.
why do they need to renovate
What is
Patterson?
wrong with Patterson?
If the end is near,
Yeah,
Yeah,
if
I thought the end was here. Wait a minute.
Just why are we renovating?
yeah.
I mean, you would
And
counsel
this-
somebody for remodeling their house.
And this is a long-term project. This is not something they're going to complete in a
No.
month. This is a big
but you know
project.
what?
Brother,
though?
sister, we think it's bad for you to take a loan out to remodel your house because you really should be spending time out in the field service.
Yeah. But give us all your money so we can renovate
Sorry.
Patterson.
Sons of bitches.
And who's at
Seriously,
Patterson?
man.
The legal department's at Patterson.
How convenient. Well, I mean, this is nothing new. This is
Yeah.
nothing new. When we were growing up in this in the 90s and you guys in the 80s, all in favor, say aye. They would subject, pledges of money to a public vote. Now, the problem with that is that to work against that would be
Yeah.
to work against Jehovah's organization.
You guys
of
ever
course
say
the
no?
public-
Yeah.
Right, of
Has-
course
says
I was going to
no?
say no.
Yeah. Has
Why would
anybody
I
ever
say
seen
aye?
anybody say no?
In other
Yeah.
words, if you serve Jehovah and love Jehovah and his
Right.
organization, say aye. So this is nothing new, the pressure tactics,
Yeah.
because if they really were going to submit things to a fair survey or a fair vote or a fair pledge, it would be done like a lot of them are, where you write down or you vote on it, say ticket box or something like that.
You
Yeah.
vote on it like governing body does with new light.
Right, exactly.
I'll tell you what. So let's close first with a few questions that I thought of and
Okay.
wrote down. And then we need to do our shout outs. So first, how many lawsuits are going to be filed in New York thanks to the Child Victims Act? That's a question because I don't know. There's already been one law firm says they have 1,200 in the wings, 500 have officially been filed. We don't know how many of those are against Watchtower or the Catholic Church or whatever. How many more lawsuits will Watchtower lose around the world? Because they didn't lose all of them. To be fair, they didn't lose all of them. They've lost a lot. How much more property can they afford to sell before people are simply too far away to be able to attend the meetings at a Kingdom Hall? I wonder about that because,
Jeopardy.
yeah, once they can't attend, once it's too far and people are like, man, I can't drive an hour and a half to go to the hall. I got a job, I got a family, blah, blah, blah. How is Watchtower going to keep guilting them into giving them money?
What is a governing body for 500?
Yeah. Is this the beginning of the end for the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society? Now, I know people have thought for a long time, well, Watchtower's going to go down, Watchtower's going to go down. But there's a lot of stuff that's come up in the last 2 years that puts it in a different place than it's ever been in.
Yeah.
Now, I'm one of those people that I don't think that the religion of Jehovah's Witnesses is going to disappear anytime soon. I don't believe that. But the corporation could go bankrupt. That could happen, and that could help to free a lot of people, especially the PMOs that are physically in but mentally out. It could free them to exit.
Yeah, and the thing is the governing body has put in the Watchtower, the October issue this year, that talks about if they're not around anymore.
Yeah.
You know, if they get raptured.
Planning your
it doesn't
escape,
say
are
raptured
you?
in the
Yeah,
Watchtower.
but that's what it is.
That's what
It's
it
the
is.
rapture.
That they're going to disappear, and that we need to, or the Jehovah's Witnesses need to listen to. Yeah, sorry, it's still fresh in the head. But that everybody else needs to just. I appreciate that. Everybody else needs to listen to the new guys that are going to come in and take over.
Yeah.
That's code
And
for
So
take
if we
the money
get
and run.
raptured,
Yeah.
or go
And
to
so if
heaven,
we get
or
raptured to the
Armageddon, or
Caymans,
South America,
Yeah.
Yeah,
with passports,
some
was
country
Jehovah.
that does not have extradition.
And
Yeah.
it's
UJW,
not because we're not in trouble.
Yeah.
Or because we're in trouble.
and the JWs that
man.
are in there, the Uber ones, when they see this happen, guys, this is not the cleansing of 1919.
No.
This is a corporation that has failed miserably with its policies. They are cutting and running, taking the money, and creating fall guys.
Yeah.
I think to the point where you even said Supreme Court won't
Yeah.
even talk to them anymore.
Yeah.
Won't even cooperate with them anymore.
Well,
Because they haven't cooperated with
They've
them.
ignored the law and not listened to the courts in California, and that's why they had to pay the $4,000 a day fine because they refused to comply with the law. Meanwhile, they quote that scripture from Romans saying you should obey the superior authorities.
Again,
But they're not
another
doing it.
freaking double standard.
Yeah. So we have all this stuff, and again, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen to the Watchtower. We don't know how bad it's going to be, but it doesn't look good.
No, this
and it'll
isn't
be
gonna go
interesting
away.
to see over the next year what happens. And I just want to repeat it. If you've been the victim of child sexual abuse within that organization, you have legal rights. Go to Jehovah's Witness sexabuselawyers.com.
Yep.
That's the one that Kimberly O'Donnell gave us, so we know that's legit. Go there, and there's a link in the video description. At least talk to an attorney. The consultation's free. They're not going to charge you to talk to them to find out whether or not you might have a case.
And it doesn't mean that you turn your back on Jehovah.
No, not at all. Jehovah may be using you if you still believe.
That's right.
You don't know. He did it in the past. If you read the Bible and believe what that says, the
Happened
prophets
in the
did
past.
that. And what does Watchtower say? Watchtower says everyone who goes out in service qualifies as a prophet because they're speaking about what's going to come. So that makes you a prophet too. You don't know that you're not. So don't think
Could be.
that you're harming God's people. No, God can take care of himself.
Exactly.
Make sure that you call Watchtower to task for what they're doing. They need to be
That's
called
right.
to task.
You're harming corrupt policy. You're harming corrupt people.
Yes.
There's a difference.
The leaders, even the clergy, the priesthood, the Levites in Israel at different points in time, according to the Bible, were corrupt, and God came in and had to make drastic actions to fix it. So
That's right.
maybe that's what he's doing now. If you still believe, think about that. All right, couple of shout outs. I always want people to know that we have a Facebook group. It's almost 800 people now.
Before we started today, 797.
Wow, BR3 push us over 800 at Watching Watchtower on Facebook. There's always a link to Watching Watchtower in the video description, and I'm sure in the live chat one of us will paste it in there too while we're having the premiere of this. So that's one thing. I also set up a Discord server where we can all chat. The link to that is in the video description. And that, if you're not familiar with Discord, it's just an app. You can get to it through just the website link. There's a phone app, there's a computer app, whether you have a Mac or a Windows or even a Linux machine. They do everything.
Yeah.
Where you can live chat with people. We have different channels set up where you can talk, and it's a lot of fun and very interesting conversation in there. So join Watching Watchtower. So you're on a Facebook presence. Come hang out with us at Discord. You guys have any other shout outs?
No, that's it.
There's always one.
What's the other one?
Starts with a Frank and ends with a Rada.
Oh, Frank Rada. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Our jingle guy.
Our jingle, we love.
Yes, we love it.
Come
and
to America.
We've actually got a lot of responses on that jingle too.
Yeah.
There's some people that don't like it, but you know what?
That's all right.
It's okay. You have your
If he
opinion.
comes to America, we will personally take him to Graceland.
Oh.
Oh my God.
He belongs to Graceland.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Frank. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And as always, if you feel the message we have here is important, please click like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification icon, because if you don't hit the notification icon when we release new videos, you won't be notified. And I also want to give a big shout out to all my Patreon supporters, because we're talking about child sexual abuse, this video will not be monetized by YouTube. So I do rely on the patrons to help me out so I can make videos like this, because they take a lot of time, a lot of effort. We're actually set up in Deace's place today. You can't tell because it's green screen, but and it takes quite a while to get everything together.
I live at the courthouse.
It takes us about an hour.
Did some decorating.
Yeah, hour to set up, hour to break down. And we do, and all morning I was putting the notes together. So I take time away from work to do this. I'm a self-employed software developer.
Yeah, we all have that. And just to set the
Yeah.
I work for Aflac, so I'm not making anything off these videos.
Right.
Yeah.
We have our own jobs. So for the trolls out there that think that we're making money off these things, get your facts straight.
Yeah. I don't care. I don't care about the troll.
The preparation,
haters can hate, yeah.
really. I mean, the preparation is really what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's where all the time goes.
Yeah,
And
it
there's
really
a lot of
is a
time.
lot.
So do we have an idea for a teaser for the next video for our folks?
Well, it might be your friendly neighborhood witness who showed up at
Maybe.
your door again. Maybe.
I'd be ready to.
We'll
I'd be ready
see.
to discuss
We'll
that. We'll
see.
talk about that. Who knows? We'll see what comes up.
But whatever happens, we will be back.
Yes.
And we always are grateful for you watching. So we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everyone.
I'd like to take a moment to thank all of my Patreon patrons for the support that you provide for the videos that I create. If you find this video useful or informative, please consider becoming a patron and supporting the work that I do on this channel. I'd also like to take a moment to thank my activist level patrons for their generous support. Thank you very much.
The round table is talking to you. Watchtower, haven't a clue. JW's falling like flies, waking up from the years of the lies. The round table is talking to you, clearing the way so you can leap too. The round table won't tell you no lies. The round table are regular guys. The round table will show you how the Watchtower lies.